Welcome to Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends, an authentic podcast where we sit and discuss all things spiritual. Hello, my name is Christy Godwin. Welcome to my podcast, Spiritual Talk with Christy Godwin and Friends, and I have Nancy Mello here. Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I was so glad I messaged her. I've been watching her for a while. Just really admire her heart for the business and how she's always so honest and authentic. Even though this is the first time we've met, I felt like I know her just from watching her. I was stalking you, Nancy. No problems. Just stalking you on your
No worries, not a problem.
Your social media. So Nancy is an animal communicator and evidential medium. I will run down where you can contact her. We'll talk about it again at the end of the podcast, but don't worry, you in the verbiage, wherever you see this, in the verbiage will be how you can contact her. She's on Instagram, Linktree, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and basically all I did was search Nancy Mello and she comes up. Also, her email is nancymello@nancymello.com. Again, it will be in the verbiage no matter where you're seeing this. So thank you for being here. I do want to ask Nancy to start off, did you start communicating with animals first or was it past relatives first? Which one came first?
Past relatives, but looking back, I didn't realize I was speaking with animals when I was, if that makes sense. So
Yes.
my brother was raising pigs. We lived on an agricultural farm in Northern California, so 7 miles from the nearest town, middle of nowhere. And like my brother was raising pigs for 4-H, Smoker, Poker, and Joker. And I remember their names. And I remember going and talking with them and cuddling with them in their pen and just being very drawn to them. And I remember feeling I was very lonely as a child. I didn't have many friends, and especially being on a farm, there was no one to talk to. And I remember them comforting me and cuddling with me. Also, my mom would say that animals, because and today it still happens where you have people that drop off animals on the side of the road. Animals seem to find their way back, but it was to me like if there was an animal that needed help, somehow they would find their way back. And my mom even said, and my mom's very practical, very straight-laced, and she just said, I don't know what it is with you and animals, but they keep seeming to come to you. Okay.
Yes.
So
I love that. So now when people come to you, do they typically come to you because they want to know what's wrong with their animal? They had an animal pass. What do you get more of?
it really depends. You can have problem behavior like barking, which you hear right now in the background of my dogs. You can
They're just saying hello. They're saying hello.
they like to talk during the day, as we were talking about beforehand. It's my kids' first day of school, and they're a little thrown off by like all the quietness. So it's almost like they have to create noise. But yeah, so it just really depends. I do end of life work. Just before this call, I was working with an end of life session with a pet where I will assist the pet in what they want, in the requests they have. This cat it was a dog that just before this call wanted a cheeseburger and fries because apparently he had tried one once, and he also wanted whipped cream. So he had his requests, and then I always confirm with a pet, are you ready to go? And then we talk about what they would like when they're ready to go. So for instance, in this particular case, this dog is ready to go, and she wants to go outside. She wants to have music on. So there's certain requests, just like with people, that animals have. So I do end of life work. I do kind of it all. I work with missing pets. So it just depends on what the person needs. But essentially, from prior to adoption to afterwards, I can help.
I love that. So the kitty cat wanted a cheeseburger.
Yeah, it's really interesting what they request. I remember there was another big bulldog, and there was this bigger kind of guy that was talking to me, and it's generally not the typical client. He's kind of very very much the weightlifter, and looked like he could have bench pressed me times 3. And I remember he was sitting there going, what does the dog want? What does the dog want? And I'm going, okay. But I said, this dog wants something pink and red, and it's chewy. And the guy was like, oh my God, there was raw meat right behind the camera. And the dog hadn't eaten for like 3 days. And the dog, and so they were like, well, should we give it to him? And I was like, I don't know, it's what the dog wants. They started giving it to him. And actually the dog ended up living like 3 more weeks. They
Oh
talked
my
to the vet and
goodness.
they were like, this is the only thing she's eating. And the vet's like, okay. And but it was what she wanted. She wanted the raw meat.
I love that. Oh, and I love that what you just dropped in, this big burly guy. And if there's anything that will bring out the soft spot in anyone is their
That's
pets.
right. That's right. And he was wonderful. I mean, he was like, once that I said that, he was like, you could see him just melt. And then to watch her eat, it was like he was near tears. So
Mhm.
it definitely, it doesn't matter, what you look like, what gender you are, whatever it is, we get, everyone can come to us from every walk of life, every background, and you're welcome. It's not like spirit says, I don't want to talk to you because you're Jewish or because you look like you could bench press someone. It's okay. We all share that commonality of love for our
Yes,
pets.
yes, that is so true. I'm glad you brought that up because I will, and even people of other languages. Of course, I only speak English, so my client has to speak English, or we have to have an interpreter, which I've had before. But the person, animal, whatever in spirit, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's,
I've learned some nice curse words in other languages. that I'll be hearing from
yes,
the person that's passed over, or just different words, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, but this is what I'm hearing. I've learned a lot of great recipes that way. A lot of my
yes.
grandmas will kind of be saying, I want you guys to make this, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, and this is kind of what it sounds like, and this is why I love Google, because then I'll be like, okay, let's figure this out, and then usually the owners or the clients like, oh, it's this, okay. And then, of course, I have to try and make it.
Right. No, Nancy, you just have your client. This is what I do. You have your client send you the recipe. When grandma comes up and starts talking about a recipe, I'm
Mm.
like, okay, can you email that to me?
Yeah, because then you start getting hungry. There's a client I work with every couple of months, and she's in Turkey, and her grandma, she's also pregnant. So every time I talk to her, her grandma is all about getting her, and she's a vegetarian, and her grandma just wants her to eat meat. So her grandma has been giving multiple recipes throughout the pregnancy, and everything. I'm like, okay, so I can try this too, because sounds good. So yes, all about I love it. It's definitely a culinary experience in itself.
And it's the other day I had a reading and I didn't know it was a Spanish word. I didn't know the meaning of it. And so I said to my client, I don't know what I'm hearing. And their eyes got big. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, it was a cuss word.
Yeah, exactly. One of my favorite stories in regards to Espanol and Spanish, there was a woman in Colombia that I was talking to, her great aunt and her grandmother, and they were gossiping like no tomorrow, and they had some secrets to share about the local priest.
Oh, I love those. Oh,
And
yes.
so what was crazy though is there were some like secrets, and these women were talkers in life, and they were talkers afterwards. And it turned out, so her father had lost his faith, and he was an engineer and blah 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 blah. She goes and tells her father. The very next day he goes to church, and he's been going to church since, because it's because of what she said. It was so scandalous. But it was
I
so
love
if
it.
you have like skeletons in the closet, if your grandparents have skeletons in the closet, and if they were talkers in life, if they want to, I don't ask, but we
And I do want to tell everyone out there that spirit knows that Nancy is trustworthy, and that's why they're going to tell her.
yes.
They're not going to spill any beans to, someone who is not trustworthy. Or if they know it's going to embarrass the client, or it's not something the client wants to talk about, the spirit's not going to bring it up. They already know that.
Yeah, no. And if there was anything truly, and I mean, you and I both have had these things where we'll hear some things and we're like, whoa. And I always say, do you really want to know? Do you really want to hear this? This is what it involves, but I don't want to share if you're not ready. And sometimes
Absolutely.
people say no. And I 100% will respect that. In this case with the priest, it was more
kind of funny.
Local gossip. Gossip about what had happened. But they knew, because her father hadn't been going to church, and they knew that by saying that, something that there's no way I would know, that, I mean, talk about scaring the father straight, but that was their prerogative, was trying to help his faith. So what's a really beautiful example is, I mean, and this client was just rolling because there was no way I could have known any of it. And So sometimes it is about re-engaging someone's faith. I always say on my website,
Absolutely.
faith is believing the impossible is possible. And sometimes it takes a little gossip to get there.
I love it. It sure does. I absolutely love it. But Nancy, you did touch on something I do want to bring up that we do it. Yeah, like that is not anything. That's just funny. Like that's just funny fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if there is something that comes up and because we will feel it coming and know what it is before we speak it. And so we're like, yeah, we will ask, are you sure you want to know everything? Or we'll kind of hint maybe what the subject matter is. Do you want to go down this lane? Is this something you want to talk about?
Oh yeah.
And, I did have someone the other day there, I don't know, I think it was their grandfather stepped up and he had been less than kind on earth. And the client instantly said, I don't want to talk to him. All right, grandpa, you got to go.
Yeah, of course, because our priority is you. Our priority is you. And furthermore, for me, your pets. So if anything is going to harm, and there are some things, for instance, last week, and I shared this on my social media, there was a cat that unfortunately passed due to a raptor, birds picked up the cat and passed. And I needed a walk after that to just take a breath, but it was so tragic. But I remember, so I described, because the cat had been missing over a year, and I described the area, I described everything about this cat, and the client's going, yes, yes, yes. So I was hitting on all of it. And then I got to the point and I saw what had happened. And I said, okay, I said, he's showing me something. And I kind of said, well, I'm seeing how he passed. It's a little bit out of the box, what you would expect. Would you still like to know? And she said 100% yes. And so I shared it with her. And although it was tragic for her to hear, she emailed me later and said it was such a relief because she had a feeling. And she said, I kept looking in that direction. And she said, I just had this feeling. She said, I would see these birds. And she said, I just had this feeling. So it was confirmation. And sometimes that will happen as well, or actually a lot of times where for me, if I see how an animal passed and they'll say, I just had this feeling, or I had a dream. And so even though we're looking at it and we're going, whoa, that confirmation can give you that reassurance, that relief, and also help your faith, because then you're like, well, I knew that. I felt that. I felt there was something there. And sometimes it's just that confirmation.
Absolutely.
Like, okay. And so it's not as tragic as we would think because we're hearing it for the first time. But if you already have a feeling about something and then you get it, it's like, okay, all right, I can handle this. This is
right.
I can do this.
I know. And it's nice to know, for one thing, yes, that you were right. That your intuition is spot on, but also the not knowing is sometimes part of the worst. I have a huge picture here on my office wall, and a client sent it to me, and it was before I had started my business. I was still kind of doing it for a hobby and wasn't sure what I was going to do. And she messaged me, they couldn't find her dog. And so I was like, well, did you hear coyotes last week? And she said, I did. And so I said, follow the sound of where the coyotes were coming from and you'll find your dog. The dog was deceased. I told her that, right away. I said, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. Oh, I always say that. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong.
Please call me and tell me I'm wrong, please.
Yeah. Yeah. You never, and that's the thing because I work with a lot of missing pets. I never want to be right when I hear they're passed.
Right.
I remember I had someone I was talking to and they said that they had talked to another animal communicator and they said, well, I'm never wrong. I'm never wrong. This is what I'm thinking. Never wrong. That was exactly my response. I said, are you kidding me? I said, don't ever trust someone that says you're never wrong because we're human. We are going to be wrong. And sometimes we're wrong. And we were talking about this beforehand, before we started recording, that sometimes we're wrong for a reason, but we can't explain it. Sometimes we're wrong because the universe is purposely throwing us off because of, maybe that would inhibit their actions, but we can't explain it. But I hope I'm wrong when I hear a missing pet's pass. And I have been wrong before. And I'm very happy when they contact me and say, okay, my cat can make and I'm celebrating with you.
Yes, absolutely. Whenever, and my client, they did follow the sounds and they found the kill site is what she called it. Those were her words, not mine. And but this is a beautiful picture of the woods that was taken beforehand. Like it was the woods, they're snow covered. It was taken beforehand, but I can't look at it. That sweet little doggy is forever in my memory because it's a beautiful picture, and that's where his passing was. And it was the same thing. She said, I kind of knew, she said she was watching him outside the window. She could tell he caught a scent and then he was gone. And she said, and later after I said, did you hear coyotes going? And she's like, oh my goodness, I did. And then she started kind of clicking together. So yes, in those instances, when someone comes to me, I was like, yes, I'm really feeling your pet has passed. I would love to be wrong.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely. Those sweet babies just take such a place in our hearts that.
Yeah. And it's the same thing like with end of life work. When I say, okay, I feel like maybe 2 weeks, I'm celebrating with you when they're still here 6 weeks later. And sometimes I believe in the chaos theory. I believe in the butterfly effect. So sometimes our words and themselves will change the outcome. So I always say, like, we're meant to speak. Everyone we speak to, we're meant to have that connection. That's in place. The universe is working through us to help something. And sometimes it's to a greater outcome, but sometimes it is going to be where we're kind of thrown off a little bit so you can do something else. I remember I personally had a psychic tell me 12 years ago that I was going to get a divorce from my spouse in 5 years. And she had said a lot of other right on things. And then she said, you're going to get a divorce. And I remember I got so frustrated with what she said. I marched home and I told my spouse, and we started working on our issues, and we started saying, okay, this is what we need to do. And it hasn't been an easy road, but he's my best friend and we're still married 12 years later. So sometimes it's like the universe in that case knew that I needed that kick in the butt to be like, okay, all right, if you don't, she's going to say this, but this is going to cause the opposite reaction, which is what I needed.
And, I say a lot of time when people ask me psychic questions, psychic is kind of what that was, is never 100% because there's so much free will. And so when someone asks me a question, it's like, this is what I'm seeing. And I know it's not what you want to hear. Change the energy of it. Use what I'm saying to say, no, that is not going to happen. Let me change the energy. And that's what you did.
Yeah, of course. Well, and it's also given your personality, and the universe knows all of this, whether you need to be pushed a little bit, whether you need a little tough love, whether you need more empathy, more gentleness. And it's I used to be a fitness instructor, and I remember my boot camp classes were very tough love, very go. And I'm grateful for that experience beforehand, because in teaching I was very on as far as but there are different ways to connect. There are different ways of communicating the same thing. And I love the fact that I'm able to intuitively understand, okay, this person may need their hand held, but this person's going to need to be like, no, do this or else.
Right.
Absolutely. And I always say, said with love, but I say this without judgment or prejudice, but this is what I'm hearing.
I love that.
Going.
So do you find that you work more with people coming to you for their animals or for just straight up?
So right now, I would say 80% of my work is animals, just because that's what I seem to be known for. That's what people seem to come to me for. But what's interesting is after animals, I'll talk to their animals, and then they go, well, I didn't realize you were a medium. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. And then so I'll get the same clients back for something else. But I'm good with whatever. I have some people that are like, you're my animal communicator. And then I have a psychic or another person I go to. Okay. It's just like a doctor or just like a therapist. You want to go to someone else, God bless you. That's okay too. Sometimes you need a different flavor of ice cream. That's okay. I don't ever begrudge someone for using another psychic. It's not like you're going to cheat on me. It's okay. As long as you're getting the help you need, that's all I care about. That's all I want you to feel better. I want your pet to feel better. And if you can get that help from me, great. If you can get that help from somewhere else, that's awesome too.
And that really comes through. That's actually why you're here. Because I'm not about someone who is just like, nope, can't go anywhere else. Nope. Yeah. And because mediums all have different personalities, we tend to get different information. Some things are going to be the same. The overall message is usually going to be the same, but like some of the little details or some of the confirmations, those are going to be different.
Well, and it could be on the day we're having as well. We are very much human, and that's one of the things I try to open up about on TikTok and on Instagram as well. Is I'll be yelling at my kids, because I'm not perfect. I'll be yelling at my kids to turn down the volume, or I'll get in a fight with my spouse. I mean, I'm totally fallible. Like fallible. I'm fallible.
Yeah.
Trying to make sure I was using the right word, but just like that, like I'm not like some, I don't have a hood wrapped around me 24/7. Like there are going to be days that I'm just like, and it doesn't mean I'm not going to be able to get in the zone, because for me, it's very much, I just kind of zone in, but you never know. And again, based on the universe, because I know that regardless of what's going on, when I zone in, that's the information I'm going to get, but it could have because of an effect. And I also question that. So with working with lost pets, if I hear a word, I always question, because I'm very sciencey. Did I hear that word before, or am I hearing that now? Like I want to make sure, but we're human. Like we're gonna sit, we're gonna get things wrong. We're going to stutter over words. We're gonna try and remember if it's fallible or infallible. Like
absolutely. My husband, I go live on TikTok a lot, and my husband helps me. And so the people watching will sometimes, I was like, what are you doing over there? Because he'll be over there doing something. And one day, oh my goodness, Nancy, he was over there, and he was in and out annoying me during this TikTok live. And so then the whole live is laughing at me because, what are you doing? You're distracting me. No. And so then he gets this very crunchy snack that everyone on TikTok could hear him crunching. And so I was trying to not say anything because, there's like, And so finally I said, okay, are you done with your snack now? And then someone on TikTok says, crunch, crunch. I was like, right. And so then it started this whole thing of everyone was like, I had to divorce a man because he had a crunchy snack. So all that being said, because we are human and we do have, disagreements, discussions with our children and our spouses, and but you seem to be a lot like me in that I flip a switch. It's like a light switch. Oh, you can do what you're doing. Time to work. Okay, let's go.
I remember for the birth of my first child, there was some disagreement at the hospital we were at whether he was allowed to do the C-section, because I think I was like 39 and 0.5 days or something. Anyway, we had scheduled it, and the hospital kind of put their foot down. And I remember my OB went to bat for me, and so we had been waiting a while. And I could tell he was like getting a little testy. And I remember going, oh my gosh, like, is this going to affect the surgery? Is this going to affect the C-section? And so they finally approved the C-section. And I actually asked them, I said, are you going to be okay? Because you're about to cut my stomach open. And I remember, I'll never forget, because I relate to this now. He says, no, he says, as soon as I go in, he said, as soon as I put on those gloves, he said, I turn on. And that's how I think of it, is as soon as I turn my office door, as soon as I turn on my computer, it doesn't matter what happened before, I'm on. Absolutely. And I just go into a zone, and I won't hear things. I won't hear the dogs bark. I won't hear the kids argue. You won't be able to click me out of it, because I would be hyper focusing. So no matter what, I mean, but I grew up with like Miss Cleo, right, on TV, and these psychics, and call this psychic hotline. And I remember for a long time, I wasn't identifying myself as a psychic because I thought that was the only way you could be a psychic.
Right.
I thought that you had to grow up in a gypsy household and like have long nails and just be very hush hush, and you weren't supposed to talk about it. And and I was very, you could just, I was very different. I knew I was different. I knew I had these skills, but I didn't think I could be a psychic because that was my interpretation. And that's, I think, one of the things I do try and do on my on social media is like, I always joke, I always tell my clients, I am totally normal except for my dance moves. I dance like Elaine from Seinfeld. I totally own up to it. It just makes me happy. That's what I do. And it doesn't make me any less accurate because I'm coming in from a 10-mile ride or whatever. You know what I mean? It doesn't, you don't have to look a certain way to get an accurate session.
No, I will do in my area, I'll do something called small groups, and you have to have a certain amount of people. I'll go to your house, blah, blah, blah. And I can't tell you how many, it's usually husbands say, she looks so normal. And I've told people I'm going to keep a prop box in the back of my SUV, my very normal SUV that I drive, maybe like the term and a crystal ball and stuff.
Well, and I've dressed up as a psychic for Halloween just because I find
it's hysterical.
Because it's just hysterical. Like, you have to make fun of yourself. Like, at least for me, I have to make fun of myself. Because that's, you have to laugh. And I mean, I feel like every session you're gonna laugh. You're gonna laugh because it should be joyful. I mean, generally, unless we're talking about end of life, but even end of life stuff can be really funny when they're like this dog before. He was like, I want a cheeseburger and fries. I was like, okay, he wants a cheeseburger and fries. And she's like, he had that once. I'm like, well,
he really liked it.
How can you not laugh that's like, those are one of the final requests, is a dog getting a cheeseburger and fries. That sounds good to me. I mean,
right. And I teach mediumship classes. And one of the things I tell my students is develop a ritual, and kind of like you do, you go into your office, you close the door, you sit down, whatever your movements are, and your body, your psychic brain, the spirits, everyone knows, oh, there it is. She's ready.
But it doesn't have to be so austere. It doesn't have to be like lighting candles and incense and blah, 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 blah. It doesn't have to be anything that you would think of. You don't have to hold crystals in your hand. It doesn't, those are all great if they help you, but you don't have to do it. And I tried for a long time because, again, I thought, okay, well, if I am going to do this professionally, I need to light a candle next to me and have music playing. And then I realized sometimes I'm telling the kids not to burn the house down and running into the office to do a session. And I'm just running in and going, okay, but it doesn't, again, it's whatever helps you. If that's just taking a second, if that's meditating, if that's not doing anything.
That's right. And I talk about that also, is that however many people there are in this world, that's how many ways there are to do it. I mean, there's certain ethics that you just have to abide by them. But other than that, like my ritual is I sit up straight, take a deep breath, and expand my aura. All right, let's go. There you go. That was it.
But I like to do a little dance in between sessions. Like if I have a few minutes, I'll do a little quick exercise, like I'll do abs or something. And if it's like 5 minutes, I'll do a dance. I'll turn on Alexa. I don't want to say it because she'll turn on, and I'll dance. Yes. And it's some poppy, Taylor Swift, whatever, one of the top hits right now, and I just dance. And
my go-to is Lizzo right now.
Yes.
I also like to do warrior pose.
Yeah. No, but it's whatever helps, and I'll be running in like I a lot of times my first session of the day, I'm coming out of a workout. So, I no makeup on, hair back, I'm sweaty, water bottle. All right, cheers, let's go.
Right. It doesn't affect. Yeah. And, it's something not, everyone has some kind of psychic intuitive ability. Mm-hmm. And we have, as a society, really made it not normal, but it is very normal. It is so, gut instinct. That's just, in spirituality, we call it clairsentience. It's just a difference in terminology, but everyone has somewhat of the ability. I wish everyone could learn to trust themselves. Or whenever, especially when I go live on TikTok, there will be and I don't answer questions like, is my husband cheating or this or that? We do not do that on TikTok lives, or I don't. I will say, why are you asking? What is leading you to believe that? What is your gut instinct telling you? You need to listen to yourself.
That's when I do like I do my Instagram lives every Friday night. And when someone asks me something like that, and I'll get like a look and I'll be like, and I'll say, sometimes I'll say, well, if you're asking me,
right,
if you're asking a psychic, and I say this with all love, but if you're asking a psychic,
that's exactly what I do. If you're asking me why, like, because
something's there that's making you not trust.
Correct. Absolutely. Yes, yes. So now, what has been the most interesting missing animal case that you've worked on?
I mean, there have been, I've found 105, 106 animals since 2022. I've helped find. I never say find because then I'm taking the credit. I've helped because it takes a village. Oh gosh. It's funny. I was just looking over a bunch of them today because I just helped find another cat this morning. I would say the most interesting one was probably the one that got me into this. So it was a dog by the name of Ollie, and he'd been missing 2 days. And I was not a missing pet finder before. I was an animal, and someone randomly messaged me on Instagram, and I remember I was just getting out of the shower. It was late at night, and they were like, please, can you help us? And I remember they said he has diabetes, and I was like, oh, okay. And I said, okay, like I feel like he's under something. And I remember I said, I see a dirt road, and they were like, dirt road? We live in Long Island. There's no dirt roads. And I was like, I see a dirt road, and I feel like he's stuck under something. But I did feel like he was fading. And I described, there was like a red shed, I think I remember describing. And I said, I feel like he's stuck. And I was like, but let me see what I can do. And of course, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm not like, can I find a lost pet? I was just like, I'll help with the skills I have. I'll help with with how I know. And so I remember just working with him and telling him to get unstuck. I kept saying, get unstuck. And I don't know how the heck I did it, but just working with him, get unstuck and unstuck. I remember because he kept saying his legs are stuck. And then the next day, they started working with him again. And I remember this because it was the start of COVID. It was the very beginning of COVID. Like all of a sudden, alarms are going off all across the States. Things are starting to close down. And they started going out and looking. And I remember I was giving them some more details. And I kept working with Ollie, and I kept going, you just have to get unstuck. And I could feel his energy,
Oh yeah.
And
yes, that feeling.
And an hour later, he was found dazed outside of he was stuck under a boat right by a red shed down a dirt road at this house that they had checked before, but he had gotten stuck under this boat, like this canoe or kayak. Mm-hmm. And he had been stuck, and he had gotten free because he was just sitting right by the boat, just dazed. And it turned out he was he was close to diabetic ketosis or diabetic coma. Mm-hmm. And they had found him with, I think the vet said like 2 hours to spare. And they rushed him in. I think he was at the vet for a few days, and Ollie, and he was like 12, and this was 2 years ago, and he's still living his best life in Long Island, not far from me in Long Island. But that's what started. And I remember when he was found, I just remember like looking at thinking like, holy crow, like I helped. Like, it's one of those things you just go, did I help with that? Did I do that? Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But it was so worthwhile. And then, and so that started it. And I have pictures of most of the missing pets that I've helped find all on my wall to just remind me of, when I start getting down, or there is a hard reading or an emotionally, hard reading, I can just look at all of these wonderful pets that hopefully I've made a difference with.
You absolutely have, and not only with them, with their owners.
Try.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I can remember we mentioned, I was talking about earlier, I used to have, and during this, I had a Great Dane. And it was funny, she was so prevalent in my readings and stuff. I had someone on TikTok ask me, why haven't we heard your dog? Because she was a Great Dane. So when she snored really loudly. So during my lives and stuff, you could hear her snoring. And, I just knew something was wrong. Just knew. She started losing weight, and the vet had told me, like, done x-rays, and she was fine, sent me home. I wasn't feeling real good about it. And it was funny because I was opened up. I was in a reading, and she came and laid her head on my lap, and I was like, she's dying. And I took her in, and she was. I said, you have to do blood work, something wrong. And she was dying. But to be able to have that confirmed, like to go, because had I not been opened up to her, I don't know when I would have taken her in, because right then they had told me to wait. I think at that point I had to wait another week, because I'd already mentally, when I went in and they did blood work, she had 2 days to live. So had I waited until they told me, I would have woken up one day and she had been gone. So to give people that gift that you do, just some knowledge and to end of life and be able to tell people that your dog wants a cheeseburger. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whenever, back to my Great Dane, whenever she was sick, I was like, I'm feeling she wants chicken nuggets. I'm just feeling that. And so my husband went to Chick-fil-A. I got her some chicken nuggets and she ate her some chicken nuggets before she passed. Now, I don't think that would have been my favorite, but I guess probably because we have grandbabies. I like chicken nuggets from Chick-fil-A. And so she would get them, off and on when the grandbabies got them. So
Yeah.
no, I have some questions, unless you have something, I have some questions to ask you that are kind of outside of, I didn't tell her about this, but in my defense, I said, I was rolling down the questions and sweet Nancy's like, I don't care.
Yeah, good.
So what is your star sign?
Libra.
Oh, Libra, very balanced.
Oh, it's the scales. Yes.
Yes, very balanced. So what do people misunderstand about you the most?
About me personally, or about what I do for a living? Because
we're going to get to the living part later. We're right now about you personally.
Because there's a lot that people are like, what the hell are you about, lady? What do people most understand about me? So I think the biggest misconception that I get is that I'm always on. People think that I am on 24 hours a day, and I explain to people that's exhausting. That's like a TV going nonstop. That we will have times that we are off a lot, and I joke that I spin down, that I turn off watching Housewives and Bachelor. I'm a big reality TV fan. I don't sense anything. I drink my elderflower and Sprite combination, and I just relax. So the biggest misconception is that we're always on, and I have lots of times where I turn off, and it would be too much to be on all the time. So I am on, like right now, I'm on because I'm talking to you. I'm on when I'm in sessions, but as soon as I turn off, like I have to turn off, and then I'll go into mom mode or spouse mode or dog mom mode.
Right. I love that. Absolutely. I love that. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Just be yourself. Stop being afraid. It's funny you asked this. I'm hopping on the TikTok trend of the teenage dirtbag, where you go and show pictures of your old school self. And I was so afraid that, and I actually wrote like, you can change your hair, you can change your makeup, you can change your hair color. I mean, you can see throughout my late teens and 20s, I was so just trying to fit in and I would just say, just screw it. It's not going to make you happy. Right. Just be yourself. And if you don't know who that is, that's okay. But own it. Own that you don't know who you are, instead of trying to fit yourself in boxes that you're not going to find happiness in.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Yes, yes. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
I don't know. So Macklemore says that when you finally die, it's when the last time someone says your name, right? That's what he says. I don't know. I think if I could be remembered for anything, I don't know, that it's okay to be whoever you are, whatever skill you possess. It doesn't have to be psychic, intuitive, animal communicator. You could just like to juggle. And if you do a really good job juggling and running at the same time, do that. Whatever it is, we all have something to offer the world.
Yeah, I call it people's magic. We all have some kind of magic.
Yeah.
100%. Let your magic shine. If you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
London, favorite city in the world.
Really?
100%. When we went there the first time, we were actually talking about this before we recorded. Yeah, I've been there 3 times. Pre-pandemic, we were there almost every 18 months. I remember we got there for the first time, and I instantly felt like I was home. I knew how to use the tube. I knew how to walk around. And when I'm there, people will mistake me for a local. People will like assume that I live there. So London, there's something, my heart just.
Haven't been there yet. We went to Ireland earlier this year, but next summer, this coming up summer, July, I'm going to Arthur Findlay College. So I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check out London and Scotland. So we'll see. I don't know. That too, I think would scare me. What is your biggest pet peeve?
I don't, I have a lot of things that will like professionally pet peeve, I guess, because
Anything? Okay, professionally. Let's go professionally. Let's do that.
oh, my biggest pet peeve is I think when someone yeah, no, I don't know, because I kind of try and allow everyone to be who they are. I will say just something random. My biggest pet peeve is all of my sessions are in Eastern Standard Time. And I guess it annoys me that I can't change my own system to change it so that in the only time zone. I don't know. I don't know. Like, I don't like when my kids talk at the top of their lungs and use 2 screens or 3 screens at once, but professionally, I think okay, maybe what we were talking about beforehand. I don't like other intuitives that say there's no way that they can ever be wrong.
Oh my
I don't
goodness.
like anyone that says you can
Mhm.
only come to me for the answers, that I'm the only one. That's when you become kind of cultish. That's when you become kind of like very narrow.
I
So
love that one.
that's
That's a
yeah,
good one. Yeah,
yeah.
that's an excellent one. What is the most important lesson you've learned over your career? Like while doing your career, what's one of the most important lessons?
I think to not judge anyone
Mhm.
by their outward appearance, like we were talking about, the big kind of burly guy that came to me and melted. Yeah, not to judge anyone based on basis of race, color, creed, anything like that, that we all have lost, we all have loved. um I think I was pretty good on that before, but and also I I don't know, I biggest lesson I've learned,
Biggest lesson you've learned.
that there's always hope, that you that really, even as psychics, we don't know what's coming next. And I think that's been a joy for me. Like I remember when I started this professionally, not just kind of, doing it for fun. I remember taking a walk and I remember just having this feeling that I would be successful, which is really odd for me because at the time I was very class head empty, blah 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 blah. And I remember just having this walk and I remember exactly where I was and I knew that I was going to be successful.
Yeah.
And it was the strangest thing.
Mhm.
So to know that I really don't know what's happening, like I couldn't, which is funny, I couldn't have predicted any of this in my life.
Mhm. I
So
know.
I love it.
Agreed.
I love that I don't know where I'm going next in this. I love the fact that I didn't know I could work with missing pets until I did. I didn't know that I could help animals cross over until I did. So I love the fact that just by not having expectations, the universe has just really opened up to me. I always say yes to everything. Do you want to be on a podcast? Yes. Do you want, and not because I want the notoriety. It's not about fame for me. It's just about making those connections. It's
Mhm.
about knowing that if someone's messaging me and saying, hey, do you want to be on my podcast? Do you want to do this? There's a reason why the universe is showing me that.
Very. It was funny. Earlier today, I was texting one of my kids, and I said to them, "Why are you trying to limit what the universe can do for you?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I had said, we were talking about something. She said, "Well, that can't happen because
Yeah.
what? Are you trying to limit? Are you trying to throw the gauntlet at the universe that they can't do that?"
Yeah. I mean, if I told my 12-year-old self this is what I'd be doing, I would
Oh my goodness,
yeah,
no.
absolutely. I'd be like, I don't want to. And I remember when I finally started doing this professionally, I had someone, a fellow military spouse, message me privately and said, it's about time. And I was like, what? And she's like, it's about time. She's like, 10 years ago, you said you would never do this because you didn't want to be a crazy psychic, because you didn't want to be known as a crazy psychic. Uh, I think we're all being led. And we like to kind of ignore the signs. We like to be like, no. And I mean, I know, I'm sure you were the same way, where the universe kept going, this is what you're supposed to be doing. This is your, because it's a calling. I truly
Yes,
feel it's a
yes.
calling. And the universe will go, this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're going, no, 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 no. I'm trying to go this way. No, the universe is going to keep directing you.
I call those the 2x4 in the head moments where the universe is like, hello, hello. And you're like, and all of a sudden you get,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, now you can't ignore this. The timing is now. Last question. What's one thing your business adventure had about it that you didn't expect? Like, what about it? Didn't
I
even
don't like, when I was in college, I refused to take any business classes because I was never going to own my own business. And then I had a lawyer friend when I was just starting this go, okay, well, if you make over so much, you're going to need to incorporate LLC and all that stuff. And I remember going, I'm not going to make that much.
Joke's
So,
on you.
So thankfully my spouse, who is brilliant, he is I call him my CFO, and he does all the numbers. But I don't like I mean, no, I love numbers. I
Right.
am not good at stuff like that. I barely made it through high school and college math. So yeah, no, doing the business side of thing, and this is the side that people again don't see. They think, oh, all we do is the sessions. And
Yes.
no, we gotta pay taxes.
There's a lot of paperwork actually involved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing I don't think I was expecting was like the social media, okay, but it's like all the paperwork, all the legality, all of these different things that we have to do in order to be legit, to be in good legal standing in the United
Right.
States.
Absolutely agreed. It's like that is, and I have a master's in business, and that is still my least favorite side of it, just because I want to be doing the fun,
No, I know I can turn to you if I have a question because I'm always like, what?
I have a good lawyer and a good accountant. That's what I got to say.
Yeah, that's why I have my husband.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Nancy. It was a pleasure. I so enjoyed this. Thank you. Now, you can find Nancy on almost any of the social media platforms. I didn't see Twitter. Do you have Twitter?
No, Twitter. I like Twitter. It's on my own though. I go like secret squirrel. That's where I like read all the. That's where I'm like, okay, that's kind of my area.
I don't even have a Twitter account. I know nothing about it myself.
I like it. I love Twitter. I don't know.
Nancy, don't send me down that rabbit hole.
I just like to read like that. That's another thing. Real Housewives, Bachelor, and I like to read Twitter. It just, I don't know.
You get zone out.
Cat videos. Yeah, you get cute cat. You get everything. You can get news. You can get cute cat videos. You can hear about a wildfire in India. Like so I went to school for poli-science, political science and women's studies, which is now called gender studies. And yeah, so I'm the nerd that's like watching the news. Yeah.
I had my baby grandchild is about 19 months old. She'll climb in my lap, and she'll look at my phone and say meow. She wants me to go to TikTok and pull up cat TikToks.
Oh, I am here, and I do duets on funny animal videos on TikTok. I'm all about it. And there was one TikTok of this cat on a treadmill, and this kitten is just mew, mew, mew. And so I'm trying to do this TikTok. I'm trying to do a duet, and I'm just watching this cat. And I think I did the video like 3 times, and I just was cracking up the whole time. And finally, I just left it. And I said, no words, just can't. It's a cat on a treadmill.
Right. It's too much. I like the funny doggies.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm sorry, I got distracted. So you can find Nancy on Instagram, Linktree, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook. Just Google her or search her name. The actual acronyms to get to her will be in the verbiage, whether you're watching this on my YouTube channel or on the actual podcast outlet. Her email is nancymello@nancymello.com. And again, thank you so much. It was a joy having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Everyone watching, I hope you have a blessed day.